Envisioning a just and effective system of governance for a world in which all countries are united is one of the most profound challenges in political thought. Philosophers and theorists have long debated what such a government might look like, offering models that range from hierarchical centralization to participatory democracies and federal systems. As globalization continues to weave nations closer together, the search for functional, equitable forms of global governance has become more urgent, not only to safeguard peace, but also to address transnational challenges like climate change, economic inequality, technological innovation, and human rights. This video will be exploring the key philosophical foundations, models of governance, and practical considerations for how a united world government might function. It emphasizes legitimacy, democracy, rights protection, subsidiarity, checks and balances, constitutional guarantees, and innovative technologies. Throughout history, thinkers have outlined different approaches to global government. The concept of cosmopolitanism envisions society as fundamentally global and argues that universal laws and institutions should govern all individuals equally. This philosophy seeks a juridical order that protects people from violence, discrimination, and oppression at every scale. World federalism builds on these ideals. It advocates for democracy and constitutional government spread out across many levels, from local communities through to national governments and up to a global authority. Under a federal model, global, national, and local institutions would each have clear domains of authority, with global bodies focused on issues that affect all humankind, such as peacekeeping, international law, and the stewardship of shared resources. Legitimacy for such a system would depend on consent, transparency, broad democratic engagement, and the protection of autonomy for both individuals and community. Any government that aims to govern the world must balance immense diversity with the need for effective administration. Federalism offers a promising solution for this challenge. By dividing governmental authority among different levels, global, regional, national, and local, a federal system can respond flexibly to issues appropriate to each scale. The principle of subsidiarity would be foundational. Decisions should be made as close to affected people as possible. Issues such as war, planetary health, and global trade would fall under the jurisdiction of a central global government, while education, cultural affairs, and local economics would remain in the hands of local government. A sound government requires rigorous checks and balances. Horizontal separation of powers means that the legislative, executive, and judicial branches are independent and monitor each other's activity, preventing the concentration of power and ensuring accountability. Vertical separation distributes the capacities across the levels of government, from local up to global, reducing the risk of either tyranny or dysfunction. The legislative branch could be made up of representatives directly elected by citizens of all nations. Population-based apportionment might be balanced by mechanisms to ensure fair representation for smaller regions and diverse cultures. For instance, a bicameral parliament could allow an upper house representing regions equally and a lower house apportioned by population, similar to systems used in federal states and the European Union. Transparency and participatory democracy would be essential. The legislative process would include open debate, public engagement, and opportunities for citizens to propose, critique, and refine laws. Such a system would nurture constructive dialogue and allow for broad inclusion of diverse perspectives. It might also include citizens' assemblies, expert consultations, and digital platforms that allow people from all over the world to engage with global lawmaking. The executive branch, consisting of global administrators, president, prime minister, or councils, would be democratically elected, with clear constitutional limits on their power. This branch would be responsible for implementing global decisions in areas such as peace and security, planetary health, international trade and aid, human rights, science, and technology. Administrative ministries would coordinate between global and regional governments, ensuring that policy is harmonized yet flexible enough to account for diverse regional needs. On issues requiring urgent and coordinated action, like responding to pandemics or large-scale conflicts, the executive must be empowered but always accountable. For the rule of law to prevail globally, there must be an independent judiciary capable of adjudicating across cross-border disputes, protecting constitutional rights, and holding all actors, including the government itself, accountable. A permanent world court would resolve disputes between nations, protect individuals from abuse, and provide oversights on the enforcing of global legal norms. A clear constitution would define the court's jurisdiction, guaranteeing procedural fairness for all. It would focus especially on preventing war, genocide, crimes against humanity, and systemic injustice, while safeguarding civil liberties and overseeing the constitutionality of global legislation and administration. A global constitution, adopted by democratic means and ratified by the people of the world, would guarantee basic human rights and dignity, while also enshrining protection for cultural diversity and local autonomy. Key constitutional features would include equality before the law, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, religion, or gender, protection of languages, traditions, and the right to preserve one's cultural heritage, freedom of speech, assembly, religion, and association, voting rights, and participatory mechanisms for all levels of government, a commitment to transparency, open records, and robust civil society engagement. Local and regional authorities would retain autonomy over issues not directly affecting the global public, reflecting the principle that only true global matters should be centralized. This would help nurture a vibrant and diverse civilization, rather than flattening differences in pursuit of uniformity. A successful united government must not only permit, but encourage meaningful participation from all citizens. Democracy would be more than elections. It would involve direct and deliberative mechanisms for collaboration and oversight. Technologies such as digital voting platforms, secure public blockchains, and instant communication channels could be leveraged to ensure accessibility, transparency, and broad engagement. Civil society organizations, non-state actors, and local communities would have opportunities to contribute to the legislative process, ensuring that minority voices and marginalized groups are not forgotten. Deliberative assemblies organized globally and locally would allow in-depth debate and consensus building, rather than settling important issues by simple majoritarian votes. The principal job of a united government would be to resolve the world's most urgent transnational problems. These include war and peace, environmental destruction, pandemics, poverty, technological disruption, and injustice. Global agencies would be set up to address security, coordinated disarmament, peacekeeping, and mediation of conflicts between regions, planetary health, healthcare standards, pandemic response, climate policy, biodiversity protection, economic justice, redistribution and aid, sustainable development, fair global trade, labor rights, human rights, protection from discrimination, migration and refugee policies, privacy, and human dignity in the digital age. Each agency would work in partnership with regional and local authorities, sharing funding, data, and expertise while respecting diverse needs and priorities. A critical danger of any united government is the possibility of power abuse. To prevent tyranny, pluralism and accountability must be institutionalized. Key features would include separations of powers among legislative, executive, and judicial branches, interlocking checks and balances so no single entity can dominate, strong constitutional limits that cannot be revoked by temporary majorities or executive decree, transparent public records and auditing to prevent corruption, pluralistic institutions that recognize overlapping spheres of identity and community, local, regional, and global. Most scholars argue that global government should emerge not all at once, but gradually, by building on existing organizations like the United Nations, regional federations, international courts, and global civil society. Learning from successful regional models, voluntary cooperation and respect for sovereignty will foster unity more naturally and with less resistance. Step by step, development of common legislative, administrative, and judiciary institutions allows time for adaptation, local innovation, and the growth of trust and legitimacy in global governance. A government truly capable of uniting all countries must harmonize universality with diversity, centralized authority with local autonomy, and representative democracy with deliberative participatory processes. Drawing on the teachings of philosophers and lessons from current federations and regional organizations, the most promising model is a world federalism. Power divided among global, national, and local governments by clear principles of subsidiarity, strong separations of powers, pluralistic representation, and constitutional safeguards. Transparent, participatory, and deliberative democratic structures, innovative use of technology for inclusivity and accountability, targeted agencies and institutions to address transnational challenges without sacrificing local distinctiveness. While the challenges are considerable, this framework provides a robust foundation for justice, peace, and prosperity in a globally interconnected future. The journey towards a united government should be adaptive, democratic, and committed to achieving both a shared purpose and respect for the rich human diversity that shapes our world. Thank you for watching. I put a long time into the research of this video. If you wouldn't mind liking, that would be great, and have a good day.